Support for Mission Nonprofit is provided by Thurston Talk.
This program is provided in the public interest by Thurston Community Media. More information at tcmedia.org.
Hello, my name is Deborah Vinsel, and you're watching Mission Nonprofit. Throughout the year, TC Media invites local nonprofits that help make Thurston County a better place to live, work, and play. Let's take a look back on the year and show you some of our favorite moments with the many organizations we featured. Blood donations are vital to keeping our community in good health. BloodWorks Northwest is our regional donation hub, providing this life-saving service by supplying 95% of hospitals across the Pacific Northwest, while also educating the community and conducting important medical research to continue their mission to save lives. So January, as we mentioned earlier, is Blood Donor Month. And I think folks probably don't often think about the importance of blood donations, and we are fortunate to have a donor center from BloodWorks Northwest here in Greater Thurston County. So I know that a lot of our viewers may not know the organization and may not know the history. So Juan, could you fill us in a little bit about the history of BloodWorks Northwest?
Absolutely. The medical community at the time of World War II, back in 1945, felt that we needed to have a blood center because of where we were positioned on the Pacific Northwest, and with aircraft being built here in case there was an attack on our community, or to support the soldiers on the Pacific Rim. So they started BloodWorks Northwest in 1945. It has grown, obviously, into the blood center of the Pacific Northwest. It started as Puget Sound Blood Center. In 1916, we purchased the Eugene, Oregon Donor Center, and we changed our name to BloodWorks Northwest to represent. Now we go from Bellingham, Washington to Eugene, Oregon. I believe we serve about 90% of the hospitals between Bellingham and Eugene, with a number of them here in Western Washington. So we have grown into a blood health organization that serves the community. We have a blood research organization down in the East Lake area of Seattle, which has a number of really wonderful scientists that we represent, looking at a variety of different areas to maintain health through the use of different products that are developed through blood. But most importantly, and the one that the public sees and knows about, is the fact that we take blood donations, and those blood donations are used to help help citizens who are going through different types of medical procedures. And the most common medical procedure in any hospital is still blood transfusion. There's one in the United States every 4 minutes. So donating blood, in the words of the late Dr. Beverly Torek-Storb at Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, blood is still very important.
Thurston Community Media has been the county's public media TV station for the past 35 years. Recently, TC Media has evolved from being a nonprofit TV studio to a Media MakerSpace, still striving to provide the tools, education, and space for community members, businesses, and nonprofits to tell their stories. I think that what we've seen, as we've seen with consolidation of media at the national level, and the reduction and or loss of locally focused media, that organizations like TC Media serve a really vital and important role in a community to help a community tell its own story and to make sure that local information is available to the people in a community.
And if you have an informed community, if you have a community that is getting information that's vital to being able to self-govern, which is what we're ultimately supposed to be able to do, then you're able to have an engaged public. Well, in addition to the equipment, of course, is just the state-of-the-art studio.
Space.
The space
we're in.
The space in which we sit right now is phenomenal. Having this type of a setup where you can move things around, you've got not only the space but also just the equipment, the lighting, the cameras,
control room,
the teleprompter,
right.
And the control room B too, so you can communicate back and forth. it's a pretty phenomenal space.
A lot of people don't understand that what we do is to make what I call the three tools, the three T's, the tools, training, and transmission services available. And when I say tools, as you said, it's our beautiful studio, our 1,500 square foot production studio that we have, but also portable equipment that people can check out, cameras, tripods, microphones, light kits after they've been trained. Two different kinds of field cameras, DSLR cameras that can record 4K video, and we have high definition video camcorders that are more traditional camcorder format, and all the accessories that go with them. But we also have other tools that people may not think in terms of being media tools, like iPads.
Right.
We have iPads that have software on them that people can create animation or capture video and images with. We've got some great accessories for folks who want to use their mobile device, their iPhone or their Android phone, to create video. We've got gimbals that can be checked out, and a gimbal, for folks who may not know, is kind of like a Steadicam for cell phones. We do projects that we call community benefit projects because we think that the content is important to the community for a variety of reasons, and that there be some broad community interest in it. And our community projects range from a forum, recently a forum on the Regional Fire Authority, for example, to coverage of a community festival or event like this Procession of the Species, which is coming back this year. So we'll be there with our cameras. We're so excited to be able to cover it. And these are things that we believe to be, integral to the health of our community and important to our viewing audience, because they want to see these things. So we often invite folks who've been through our training classes to be part of that volunteer base that helps to make those things possible. The Rachel Corrie Foundation for Peace and Justice was formed in the memory of Rachel Corrie, an activist from Olympia who was tragically killed while serving the Palestinian community in Rafah in 2003. Today, the Rachel Corrie Foundation strives to foster connections, education, and grassroots participation on the local and global level.
Rachel was my third child. She was an Olympia girl, I would say. She was a writer and an artist. She had a passion for finding meaningful things to do with her life as she got older. After 9/11, and was at Evergreen, turned to trying to figure out why that had happened. In the course of doing that, she started to learn about Israel and Palestine, and then very deliberately chose to go to Gaza because she was told that's where the need was greatest. When community members came to me on the first anniversary of Rachel's death and wanted to do something, I said, it can't be just about mourning for Rachel. It has to be, there have to be some other elements. And I think I probably identified three at the time, which is community building, education, and action. And so those continue to be three components that we think about when we're putting together these events.
The mission was really to carry on Rachel's vision. And Rachel had a vision, as Cindy mentioned, of peace and justice, that we define ourselves as a community through our commitment to justice, challenging oppression and resisting oppression. In collaboration with Art Forces and Dr. Susan Green, we have the mural on 4th and Capitol, the really beautiful olive tree, which is
big leaves.
Yes, with the leaves. And it's representative of the connection, of the local to global connection. The olive trees are very important in Palestine, very symbolic, trees of life. And the roots are breaking down the walls between us and the wall, also the separation wall in Palestine. Cindy, the Corries have been really active in the legislative and advocacy work, and we've been doing that more broadly through a group that's formed called the Palestine Action South Sound Group that's meeting regularly. And Cindy mentioned this, but because Rachel's story has so much power, I mean, we have brought the foundation really brought incredible people to our community.
Thurston County Museum of Fine Arts is dedicated to creating a public art space in our community, one pop-up at a time. Since 2022, TC MoFA has curated unique pop-up museums to showcase the work of local artists throughout Thurston County and the Coast Salish Sea area.
Well, we started it as a pop-up museum, which I think is initially something that people might not have heard of before. Basically, as you know, in Olympia, there is not a actual fine arts museum, and this is the state capital. It's one of those things where when I was on the Arts Commission, that's something that I heard from a lot of the people out in the public. It's like something that people want to have. Everyone loves going to Seattle to their various museums and things like that. And so it came out in 2022. We sort of, for the Arts Walk, put together what was intended to be as much of a museum experience as we could pull together in a pretty short amount of time. That's kind of the very first thing that started.
That was our first one, the end of 2022. In 2023, we put on 3 museums. One during the Spring Arts Walk, second one that was funded by the city as a part of the Armory Arts Intervention, and a third one which is called CS MoFA, the Coast Salish Museum of Fine Arts. And that one is a museum that we facilitate that's entirely indigenous art by indigenous artists with relations to the Coast Salish area. And then for CS MoFA, we do it a little bit differently. We have an open call that's open to indigenous artists with personal connections to the Salish Sea area. That's how we choose to define it, to not really try to kind of take a little anti-colonial
approach to it,
to not base it on county lines,
right?
And also, to not base it on official government-recognized tribal affiliations. We wanted to leave it up to individuals submitting just on the honor system, the expectation that people wouldn't take advantage of it.
Do you do the CS MoFA we're going to do one of those every year?
We're planning on doing it annually.
Because it aligns with Indigenous Peoples Day, like right there in the fall.
So it's the October fall?
Yes.
So always that October MoFA is going to be
that's our plan.
The Coast Salish. That's fabulous.
The way that one was curated was very different, though, where we, the core TC MoFA organizers, weren't doing the curating. We actually reached out to a group of to several indigenous artists, Michaela Schaefer, Griffin Quinn, who is now a TC MoFA organizer after this experience, and Lindley Logan, and they comprised the jury for that one.
Did you know that Puget Sound is one giant estuary connecting the surrounding area to the Pacific Ocean? The Puget Sound Estuarium in downtown Olympia offers learning opportunities to increase awareness of this unique and very special ecosystem within our own community.
Yeah, so Puget Sound Estuarium was founded by the South Sound Estuary Association in 2007. It came about out of an identified need to have not just a marine center in downtown Olympia, but a center that really focused on educating the public about our estuary system here in the South Sound. Yeah, so the broad mission of our organization is to provide learning opportunities for members of the public of all ages about the marine and estuary ecosystem here in the South Puget Sound and the greater Salish Sea ecosystem. And in doing so, we want to encourage stewardship and protection of this ecosystem. And we also want to bring about awareness and empower action around protection and also climate resilience over time, both of the ecosystem and of our communities as well. We do out in the community is we educate folks. We're an environmental education organization, so whereas you might see other organizations who do restoration work, planting trees, preserving land. We do a lot of the education for youth and for people of all ages around what those organizations do, their role in conservation, and also how people can plug in. So as an education organization, we have so many opportunities to really showcase the amazing work of our community partners in the field. So, we also partner with them. So we directly, we specialize in experiential education. So we don't just talk about like Capital Land Trust, we actually go out and do programs on their preserves with kids and with them. And kids are getting hands-on experience of what it's like to be in a preserve, what it's like to have careers in conservation, and the importance of restoration for climate resilience and carbon sequestration and more.
The loss of a child impacts parents and families like nothing else. Raise for Rowan eases this impact by providing financial and emotional support for families experiencing the loss of their child. To date, they've helped more than 740 families in 34 different states.
In 2014, we tragically lost my daughter, Rowan. We quickly knew right away that we wanted to start something in her honor and give back to the community. And we right away knew our mission would be to help others that suffered the loss of a child. And we wanted to raise funding for these families to help put their children to rest, for headstones, any kind of final celebrations that they wanted to do in honor of their child. And it grew quickly from there. So we started fundraising with a 5K, 10K walk and run. And then we also did a gala. And our very first event, we actually did both of them on the same day. And we managed to raise like $36,000, on our first event. And I remember just being over the moon with the amount that we could raise in that day. And from that day forward, we've just continued to grow and expand. And we still continue to host a gala every year. And we're kind of transitioning from the run, but we try to always incorporate stuff for our angel families and fundraise. And now at our gala, we're able to raise close to $300,000 in one event. And that number of us serving those families has substantially grown year after year. And so that's what we do in a nutshell. We don't actually just limit to financial support as well. We try to offer emotional support for these families, let them know that their child's never forgotten, and just be a resource in many other ways besides just the financial aspect. Well, we are nationwide. We have had to scale back a little bit from serving as many states on the East Coast because we were really wanting to focus our funding where we were receiving funding. So predominantly from the Mississippi over, and
West.
Yes, west, but really heavily Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Arizona, California. So yes, all over. But we have served many states on the East Coast as well.
Starting a business can be difficult and present challenges for those with limited incomes. Enterprise for Equity fosters the growth of small businesses locally by providing these individuals in the South Sound region with access to training, support, and financial resources.
Our organization was founded on the mission to serve people with limited incomes in rural areas. And as a result of being set up to serve people with limited incomes, we designed our programs, we designed our processes, everything, and went after funding to really lower the barriers so people could access business. Really, really top-notch, human-centered programming. And I would say, I hope you would agree that it's top-notch and human-centered. And
yeah, and I will say too, is like, friends of mine that I've formed relationships because of Enterprise for Equity. I made so many actually really strong friendships in my class that I did for 12 weeks. And those folks even were able to get extra attention and extra services as needed. Like they would always just reach out to the team. Is that what they provide is on a sliding scale, which is huge. When, especially for Pat and I, when we went into this process, we were starting from zero, and we both have terrible credit and all of that thing felt like a huge barrier. And so even paying, any amount of money for education seemed daunting. And so when they were like, but it's sliding scale, and as a business, no matter how many business partners you have, you can all attend the class for one fee.
Or actually for free. They've been free for the last year.
They've been free for the last year, but like when I went, that subsidy wasn't there quite yet, but I paid all of $700 for this 12-week program. That's a whole quarter of school. And so I think that's a huge thing to mention for people. And it's worth one conversation to say, like, I don't have that. What can you do to help me? And they want to help. So they're going to find a way that you can attend that class, especially for people with marginal backgrounds. Like, that's what they're there for. And I've had so many friends benefit from that already.
Asho in Bengali translates to an invitation to come and join. The Asho Cultural Center is a place people can join and belong, providing community and connection through food, education, training, and more right here in Thurston County.
Sure. Asho, my niece and I actually founded it back in 2008, just a little history of it. And I was born in Bangladesh, and our roots are from Bangladesh. And so we were thinking of, well, what do we want to do? Because we wanted to talk about hidden community issues, silence community issues like domestic violence, like human trafficking. And so we started renting the Lacey Community Center, and we needed a name. We came up with Asho, which in Bengali means to come join. Like, you're literally asking people to come join. You're not demanding, you're not commanding. You're like, Asho, like, come join. And then we're like, well, everybody has acronyms, in the business world, and you have to have an acronym. So we're like, well, what does Asho stand for? And the very thing that we wanted to talk about, these silence issues, community issues, we thought that Asho, advocating, serving, honoring humanity, and organizing for change. That's how we were going to operate all of our educational community events at the Lacey Community Center. There's a lot of people that are hurting, and there's a lot of people after the pandemic are just like, what am I doing? Or there's a lot of folks who have, especially from our marginalized communities, there's a lot of trauma. And we need to be reminded again that we have a community, that we belong. And so I take pride in saying that we are by and for. If we're talking about serving survivors of domestic violence or survivors of human trafficking, we are by and for. There is folks on my team who have survived and are at another place. And so we want people to see representation to be able to apply it to themselves. Like, I can have a business, or I can do this.
Together's mission is to advance the health and well-being of young people in our community. For 35 years, they have worked together with other organizations, businesses, schools, and community members to collaboratively address the root causes of community problems.
Yeah, so like Hala was saying, when we were founded in 1989, it was a coalition of community members focused on drug prevention in youth. And that came out of work from the UW around how to best do that in communities. And so that's where the name Together came from. And yeah, Erlis is our founding executive director. And so the evolution of that, because a lot of that work and that funding came from the war on drugs. And so we have evolved a lot and learned a lot of lessons from the ways that that wasn't working with community in the best way possible. And so the way we've evolved to now is really our programming has been more community-led and community-inspired and working in collaboration around what we're still working on prevention and health promotion, but the ways in which the needs are identified from the communities themselves. And that's of our long arc history, kind of how we've gotten to.
We have 3 amazing programs. We have host homes, we have community schools, and we have Clubhouse. And they're all located in different areas. Community schools is mainly based in the Tumwater School District. Clubhouse, before and after school programs, it's 4 of them, and that's primarily located in the North Thurston School District. And then we have host homes, and host homes really just kind of in all of those cities, and including now Olympia.
Yeah, so host homes is placing unaccompanied or homeless youth with families in the community, short-term supportive housing. And so what we are seeing, of course, we know that the homelessness issue is a crisis, right? And youth are no exception to that. And so unaccompanied youth are youth that do not have a parent or a guardian or adult in their life to care for them for lots of different reasons. And often that is not, just to say that it's not because their parent or family doesn't want to, right? Often it's they're going through their own struggles. They might be living in another country, right? And so there's community members who are willing to open their homes and host students for anywhere from like a few months during the school year or longer, depending on the goal of reaching high school graduation.
The League of Women Voters was founded in 1920, the same year women were granted the right to vote. Thurston County began their own chapter in 1961 and has been working to educate and engage voters ever since. Our local league has been a longtime partner of TC Media's, helping to promote democracy and civic education throughout our community.
The league was founded by the same people who got women the right to vote in 1920. And so in Washington State and nationally, the league was formed in 1920. In Thurston County, the league was formed during a period of time when state government was changing.
And also, I just want to mention our nonpartisan statement that we make constantly is that, and I didn't used to understand this, but I really get it now about not supporting an individual or a party, but focusing on policies and what we believe in and the issues that we study. So that's one of the things that we look at. There's a strong push. As you know, we created a civics book for all students to be able to have in school. So we're currently raising money to buy those books for every child in Thurston County. So that's one of our big pushes right now. But we also involve ourselves in a lot of community campaigns that are around climate change, a lot of DEI kinds of work, education things. I don't know, am I forgetting anything else?
Tribal and water?
Huh?
Tribal and water?
Oh, well, we did have two recent studies on a tribal study, and then we had a lengthy one on a water study, which talks a great deal about water in Thurston County. It's a really important document, I think, too.
For the last 2 years, our league has held forums involving diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging managers in Tumwater, Olympia, Lacey, and Thurston County. And so for the last 2 years, we held those panel discussions, and beginning this year, 3 of the 4 jurisdictions are now meeting once a month. So they had never met before our forum last April, and now they know each other so well, they're beginning to share technology and different assessment tools as well.
Just from a DEI and belonging lens, for the city and the county municipalities to be meeting together once a month is so beneficial for our community just as a whole, because I know Carol's talked about it, but just them meeting together and sharing tools and resources and not recreating the wheel, not resurveying people who have been oversurveyed, and just really being able to take action as a regional process, I just think is beautiful. So it's so wonderful that came from the League's forum.
The Nisqually River Foundation promotes environmental, social, and economic sustainability through community engagement and education to further its goal in successfully implementing the Nisqually Watershed Stewardship Plan.
A watershed is the entire area of land that if a drop of water falls on it, it'll eventually make its way out the bottom of the Nisqually River. So we start at the top of Mount Rainier and through the Couts and Nisqually glaciers, all the way down through Alder Lake, through Eatonville area, Joint Base Lewis McChord, out through the Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge. River Foundation was created to be that organization that could provide staffing and program management and project management for the activities of the Nisqually River Council as it implements its Nisqually Watershed Stewardship Plan. Everybody else works for either, like I said, a federal, state, local, or tribal agency. And then we have a Citizens Advisory Committee made up of really interested stakeholders that just have a passion for the watershed. The River Council is its own mission, everything else, and like I said, the foundation works to support the River Council's mission, but really what our job is to foster a healthy watershed, a healthy Nisqually watershed through creating partnerships, engaging volunteers, and providing educational opportunities. And that kind of speaks to our programs. Our number one kind of gold star program is that we work with all of the schools of the watershed through our Nisqually River Education Project, where we provide field-based science experiences in support of the next-gen science standards for any of the schools of the watershed. So we'll get students out into the field. We pay for substitutes if they need it. We pay for busing, provide all the materials. So right now we're out actually doing water quality testing around 30 different sites in the watershed with a bunch of different schools where they go out and test all the parameters of the creeks, so the main stem Nisqually. So then they can use that as a learning experience of how to do kind of that hard science where you're figuring out what the dissolved oxygen is or the nitrates are, but also learning about why things might be good or why things might be bad. And then we bring all that data together. They test twice, once in the spring, once in the winter, and bring them all together at what we call the Green Congress, which is held at Evergreen State College in the spring in March. And they share their data, and then they get a chance to go out and experience, if they want to learn fly casting or something about shellfish, there's all these different educational opportunities.
Founded in 2021, For the Love Foundation is a relatively new nonprofit in Thurston County with a mission to fill the gaps where other help falls short. The nonprofit works quickly to help people that need immediate assistance, whether that's a paid hotel room, groceries or gas to get to a job or a job interview, or late night assistance in escaping to a safe space.
So we were founded in 2021, and it was founded by Tessa Eflin, who owns Fit Life Studio, and Nicole Andrus, who owns Nicole's Bar in 1889. They were doing the same work and realized that if they partnered together, that it would obviously go further. So they partnered with six of us, right? Six dynamic women, and we became For the Love. Nicole and Tessa basically started with a small fundraiser for a dear friend who had severe terminal cancer. And that sort of shifted into them realizing that they were really, really good at getting people inspired and motivated and really good at fundraising. And so through that, they did a few different fundraisers, just very small local fundraisers, but they always raised quite a bit of money and also importantly, awareness. And so that sort of morphed into, during the pandemic, they were serving meals for families, and I was a part of that along with many other people, just trying to provide whatever we could to help people during the pandemic. We fill in the gaps. We literally fill in the gaps. So if there's another organization that's run out of money to house a homeless person for a night or even a week, we'll fill in that gap and we'll step up and we'll rent the hotel room for a week. We have served many, many families this year with domestic violence support. As you probably know, the shelters are always full. We also send families to shelters in other areas, and they're wonderful, but they're also almost always full. And so it's helping with hotel support. Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I am employed through Together, which I'm sure you're familiar with Together, a nonprofit agency in our community. And my particular job, as I mentioned, is working in schools in Tumwater. But Together, we have really partnered with, because each case manager at Together is able to refer families to us. And so that helps us to know that it is a vetted situation and that we understand the backstory of what the person is going through. It's confidential because we have ROIs with Together. And so that's one agency we definitely partner with quite often, as well as Community Action Council, Family Support Center. Right. Yeah, so. ACU Foundation, we've partnered with them a couple of times. I am employed at ACU, so that's a really good way for us to get in the community, especially out because we're only in Thurston County,
right?
But we will help people in Pierce County. And to answer your question, to really get our support, besides the organizations that we partner with, we do have a form that's on our website, forthelovefoundation.com.
Thanks for watching this Best of 2024 episode of Mission Nonprofit. And a special thanks to our many community partners for their continued support. If you want to catch up on all of these wonderful organizations, all of 2024's videos can be found on the Thurston Community Media website at tcmedia.org or on our YouTube channel.
Support for Mission Nonprofit is provided by Thurston Talk.
This program is provided in the public interest by Thurston Community Media. More information at tcmedia.org.